Does that look familiar to you? That's because that is the opening to one of the most iconic 80s comedies you could find. A film that would go on to redefine film in terms of visual effects and comedy as a whole. This is the story about four scientists who saved New York. This is...
If there's something strange in the neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird...
That's right, Ghostbusters. The one film any person could recognize from the 80s. And this iconic film is all thanks to one man, Ivan Reitman. You may not know his name, but you definitely know his work. This man would redefine the careers and comedy genre of movies as a whole with films like Ghostbusters, National Lampoon's Animal House, and Stripes. While his impact may seem little, it's much bigger than one may think. This is the story of Ivan Reitman, the man who made Ghostbusters. Ivan Reitman was born on October 27, 1946, and attended Oakwood College in Toronto and then McMaster University. While he received a Bachelor of Music there in 1969, he produced and directed multiple short films. Reitman landed his first producing job at Say TV in Toronto, where he would meet his future partner and friend, Dan Aykroyd. Ivan's life would soon change when he was brought on board to produce National Lampoon's Animal House, which was a massive success, becoming the highest-grossing comedy film of all time, and went on to become an 80s classic. Afterwards, Ivan would direct Meatballs in 1979, which starred Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, and credited Murray's first starring role in a film which became the highest-grossing Canadian film in Canada and the US. The success of Meatballs led to another collaboration between Reitman, Ramis, and Murray, Stripes, which was well received but didn't do as well as at the box office, but did go on to become an iconic classic in the eyes of many. Soon, Reitman was becoming one of the most sought-after and bankable filmmakers in the industry. But it wouldn't be soon until he reached what had to be his biggest achievement yet. Dan Aykroyd brought Ivan onto the project as a director due to their previous collaborations and relationship with each other. Other stars Reitman worked with, like Murray and Ramis, were soon brought on to play other members of the team, and soon Ernie Hudson. The production of Ghostbusters could be described in one word: agony! During production, the crew had to continuously rewrite the film due to requests from Reitman and some of the stars, add in visual effects that were challenging and expensive at the time, secure the rights to the name Ghostbusters since there was a show by Universal that went by the same name, film the movie, keep track of budget concerns, edit the movie, market the movie, film an extra version of the film where the name Ghostbreakers was used in case they couldn't get the rights to the other title, work a giant marshmallow man into the conclusion, prevent the movie from getting canceled by Columbia Pictures, who was going through an acquisition by Coca-Cola, who wanted to can the project, and worry about whether Bill Murray would even show up to production because the cast wasn't hearing any approval from him for the role, meaning they had films starring Bill Murray, about Bill Murray, and no one even knew if Bill Murray was even going to be in it or not. Oh, and everything just mentioned had to be completed in 12 months before the film's release! The reason for why there was such a short time to make the movie was due to Sony's desire to give the film a summer release. But despite the difficulties, no one in the crew, especially Reitman, gave up on the project and did whatever he could to overcome the issues faced in production. Ivan would have a huge impact on the movie's script, like determining the nature of the gatekeeper and keymaster, and adding Dana, Murray's love interest, in the film. Ivan also wanted to add more visual effects after a test screening reacted so positively to the film, despite the missing visual effects. After a chaotic production, Ghostbusters was released on June 8, 1984, and was an instant phenomenon. Ghostbusters opened at number 1 at the box office and stayed there for 7 weeks, even topping competition like Gremlins and The Temple of Doom. It remained in the top 3 spots for 16 weeks. The film earned $299 million and became the second highest grossing film of 1984, and surpassed Animal House as the highest grossing comedy ever. The film was highly praised by both critics and audiences. It was even nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Visual Effects and Original Song for Ray Parker Jr., which Reitman directed the music video for. The movie also proved to be a marketing frenzy with Halloween costumes, toys, cereal, a cartoon, references, Lego video games, even cocktail napkins. In 1989, Reitman would return to make Ghostbusters 2, which, while not as well received as the original, was still a box office powerhouse. There was no doubt about it. Ghostbusters mania had taken over, and it was all thanks to Reitman's dedication. The success of Ghostbusters led Reitman to the career of a director and producer. During the 90s, Reitman would go on to produce the cult classic Space Jam, a film starring Michael Jordan as himself and Bugs Bunny of all characters. Despite the heavy criticism put towards the film on release, it went on to become one of the most popular 90s films. Ivan would return to produce its sequel, Space Jam: A New Legacy, in 2021, which was slammed as one of the worst films of that year. However, it was a box office hit and received one of the biggest marketing campaigns for a 2021 movie, where you could not escape this thing. Other films Reitman would create include Evolution, Kindergarten Cop, Twins, Disturbia, and both Beethoven films. In 2001, Reitman would be introduced to Canada's Walk of Fame and even the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Reitman would also help usher in the future film career of director Todd Phillips by producing his directorial debut. Phillips would go on to direct Joker, Hangover, and Old School. But it wasn't until 2016 when Reitman was asked to come back for a new Ghostbusters reboot. Considering the importance and legacy of the original, the world could only hope that this reboot would go well. It did not go well. Ghostbusters 2016 easily became the most hated movie of 2016 before it was even released, and when it did, it became infamously despised. However, it was still a box office success. A few years later, Reitman passed the torch to his son Jason Reitman for Ghostbusters Afterlife, a direct continuation of the original franchise. While it divided some fans, it was much better received than the 2016 reboot and performed well at the box office. The film acted as a tribute to the original films and to Harold Ramis, who passed away after Ghostbusters 2. And with the film set up a new era of Ghostbusters films, it seemed like things should be going perfectly for the Reitmans.
Elaine, now you had another date in mind.
According to my source, the end of the world will be on February 14th in the year 2016.
Valentine's Day. Bummer.
On February 14th, 2022, Ivan Reitman passed away at the age of 75. He was still working on future projects when he passed away, one of which was an untitled animated Ghostbusters movie that would be released by Sony Pictures Animation and a sequel to Twins. Reitman's loss was a devastating one for his film partners and many across the world. Reitman helped define the childhoods of almost every 80s kids and for the generations that followed. His films defined the careers of comedy stars like Bill Murray and Harold Ramis, and helped the future of careers of new-coming directors like Todd Phillips and his own son. His films would also define a new era of comedy and became some iconic classics. While it may seem minimal, Reitman's filmmaking accomplishments should not go unnoticed. The Ghostbusters franchise may be starting again in a new direction, but it would not be possible without the help of Ivan, the man who made busting feel good.